You are in a desolate snowfield during the famine of 560, where even rats go crazy from hunger. While the whole village is fighting tooth and nail over a moldy bran cake, you hide in a pile of torn cotton, devouring large bites of military-grade, canned braised pork taken from a spatial dimension. Even though the north wind outside howls like crying ghosts and howling wolves, wanting to blow the roof off, the rich gravy and fatty meat melt in your mouth. It makes you feel immensely happy. At this moment, Chu Dai's son suddenly opens his eyes wide, his whole body uncontrollably curling up into a ball. Hunger is like a burning fire in his stomach. He opens his mouth wide, panting heavily, a wheezing sound coming from his throat like a broken bellows. Suddenly, a clear voice rings in his ears. Calling him brother, he turns his head with difficulty, catching sight of a small face only the size of a palm. Her messy yellowish hair is like dry grass on her head. Her eye sockets are deeply sunken. Her eyes are terrifyingly large. It is his younger sister, Chu Mai. This year, the little girl is already 5 years old, but looks like a 3-year-old child. The little girl kneels on the pile of torn cotton. Her 2 hands hold something pitch black, carefully bringing it to his mouth, saying that mother told him he could eat when he woke up. It is a bran cake made from ground wild vegetable roots, mixed with a lot of rice husks, steamed, and then hard as a rock. Black as a lump of coal, Chu Dai's son sniffs. A moldy smell shoots straight into his nasal cavity, but he does not despise it at all. The body's instinct has overwhelmed reason. Saliva immediately floods his mouth. He is about to open his mouth when he sees his little sister's throat twitch slightly. The little girl keeps staring at the bran cake, swallows a gulp of saliva, then turns her head to the side, but her hands remain firmly extended forward. Saying she is not hungry, just drank water. Her stomach is still full. His stomach is so flat from hunger that it sticks to his spine. Chu Dai's son's heart suddenly tightens. This is the residual emotion of the original owner, and also his most instinctive anger as the eldest brother. He props himself up to sit, looking around the room. The 4 earthen walls have large gaps. The north wind whizzes in. The window paper has long been torn to shreds, temporarily covered by a few rotten boards. The thatched roof on the house is sparse. The outside light can be seen. At the end of the earthen bed, 2 figures are shivering. It is his mother, Ly Kui Hung, covered with the only somewhat thick blanket in the house. Her face is yellow as wax. She is unconscious to save energy. The whole family is sleeping. Chu Dai's son pushes his sister's hand away. His voice is hoarse as sandpaper rubbing on a table, saying he is not hungry, telling the little girl to put it away. Chu Mai panics, tears welling up in her eyes. He lowers his voice, once again ordering her to put it away. Chu Mai is so scared she trembles, hurriedly pulls the bran cake back, carefully placing it in the wicker basket at the head of the bed. Chu Dai's son stares at that basket. It is the grain storage for the whole family. He crawls over, poking his head in to look. At the bottom of the basket are 3 bran cakes. Besides the one Chu Mai just held, there are 2 smaller ones, already growing white mold. This is not merely poverty. This is a dead end. Chu Dai's son clenches his fists, his knuckles turning white. In his previous life, he had eaten insects in the dense forest, gnawed tree bark on the snowy steppe, but never felt as helpless as now. This body is too fragile. Right at this moment, a loud noise suddenly echoes in the courtyard. The flimsy courtyard door is kicked open by someone with a loud bang. A hoarse voice rings out in the courtyard, scolding whether the Chu family is all dead. The sun is already shining on their buttocks, yet they still haven't gone to work, asking if they still want to earn work points. The people on the bed are all startled awake. Mother Ly Kui Hung is terrified. She immediately opens her eyes, coughing violently. Eldest sister Chu Lan is so scared she scrambles up, instinctively shielding her little sister. Chu Dai's son's eyes turn cold. He looks out through the crack in the door. A chubby middle-aged man wearing a green cloth padded jacket and a dogskin hat is standing in the middle of the courtyard, ton-balled. The production team leader, this guy has his hands behind his back, looking fierce, his squinty eyes darting around the courtyard. Finally stopping at the large water vat in the corner of the wall, That is the water that the eldest sister went all the way to the village well to carry back yesterday. Having to walk a whole kilometer, her two shoulders were swollen and torn. Bald walks over and kicks the vat a few times, his face full of disgust, saying, "Is this the Chu family's water?" Smelling entirely of poverty. After saying that, he raises his foot and gives it a hard kick. The terracotta water vat shatters into pieces. The clear well water immediately spills all over the ground, soaking into the dry, cracked earth, turning into a puddle of black mud. The mother inside the house lets out a tragic scream. She struggles to get off the bed, crying out, "My water, in this drought year, water is life." Bald hears the commotion, becomes even more arrogant. He spits towards the house door, saying that if they are late again, he will deduct all their remaining grain rations, scolding them as useless parasites, as a family without an heir. The words "without an heir" are like nails piercing Chu Dai's son's ears in the countryside at that time. Cursing someone for not having a man, cutting off the family line, was the most malicious curse. The father died early. The original owner had a cowardly nature. The Chu family has had to swallow their pride like this many times over the years. A fire of anger flares up from within Chu Dai's son's chest. His originally weak body, due to extreme anger, surges with a burst of strength. He gets off the bed, doesn't even have time to put on his shoes, stepping barefoot on the freezing cold floor, grabbing half of a carrying pole behind the door. His younger sister, Chu Lan, rushes over in fear, hugging his leg, crying and begging him not to go, saying that as the team leader, we can't afford to offend him. Chu Dai's son's voice is not loud, but cold as ice, only saying one word, telling her to let him go. Chu Lan has never seen her brother with such eyes. It is not the usual evasive, fearful look, but the eyes of a wolf, vicious, bloodthirsty, without a trace of warmth. The little girl involuntarily lets go. Chu Dai's son pushes the room door open and steps outside. The cold wind carrying fine snow hits his face. He doesn't feel cold. Bald is about to kick the chicken coop. Hears the noise. Turns his head to look. He chuckles, saying the eldest son of the Chu family is out. Thinking he had starved to death. Asking what he is doing holding a broken stick, planning to hit me. He basically looks down on Chu Dai's son. Everyone in this village knows Chu Dai's son is a coward, wouldn't dare to make a peep even if hit with 3 sticks. Chu Dai's son doesn't say anything, taking step after step towards him. With every step, his heart beats a beat faster. The familiar feeling of walking on the line between life and death has returned. 5 meters away, 3 meters away. Bald stares into Chu Dai's son's gloomy eyes. In his heart, he suddenly feels a bit of a chill. Why do this brat's eyes look like a wild wolf in the mountains? He roars, his voice fierce, but his heart already trembling in fear. He asks Chu Dai's son what he wants to do. He says, "Are you planning to rebel against heaven?" Chu Dai's son stops. The carrying pole in his hand slightly raises, pointing at the shattered water vat on the ground. Only saying one word, "Compensate." Bald thinks he heard wrong. Chu Dai's son glues his eyes to his neck. There's a large artery there. Just one slash and blood can spray 2 meters far. This is an occupational hazard. In the eyes of a scout, there are only targets and weak points. He says it one more time, forcing him to compensate for the water vat. Bald laughs out of anger. He says breaking the Chu family's trash vat is already giving them face. Then clearly states believe it or not, he will go straight to the production team headquarters to cross the Chu family's name off this year's relief grain list. This is his trump card. In the past, whenever relief grain was mentioned, the crippled parents of the Chu family would kneel and kowtow, begging for their lives. But today, he calculated wrong. Chu Dai's son suddenly attacks, without a single extra word, without any warning movement. The carrying pole in his hand slices through the air, fiercely striking right next to Bald's foot. The ground is frozen hard as rock. A white mark is carved deeply into the ground. Dirt fragments fly everywhere, hitting Bald's face directly. If this strike hit his leg, the bones would definitely break. Bald is so scared he jumps back, falling flat on but on the ground, his face pale, screaming murder. The eldest son of the Chu family is committing murder. Chu Dai's son only spits out one word, scram. He doesn't continue attacking. With his current physical condition, if they really fought, he might not have the upper hand. The burst of power just now has consumed more than half of his stamina. His vision goes dark, but he still stands straight, like a spear planted in the middle of the courtyard. Tun Bald scrambles up from the ground, pointing a trembling finger at Chu Dai's son. He says, "You're very good," then threatens that today, if he doesn't go to the Westport to clear wasteland, just wait and see. After saying that, he immediately runs out of the courtyard on all fours. Not even daring to turn his head back, the courtyard becomes quiet. Chu Dai's son feels like his lungs are about to explode. He sees stars. The strength he forced out dissipates. His body staggers, almost collapsing, right at this moment. From deep inside his head, a piercing electronic sound suddenly rings out. System notification. Detecting host vital signs are extremely low. Detecting violent emotional fluctuations. Strategic supply recovery station is being activated. Activated successfully. Bound to host Chu Dai's son. Chu Dai's son is stunned. He is too familiar with this sound. This is the notification sound of the Personal Logistics Support System, the newest model researched and developed in the military in his previous life. He subconsciously closes his eyes. In the darkness, a massive gray warehouse space appears in his consciousness. That is his secret base in his previous life. In the warehouse, rows of iron shelves are neatly arranged. The top is covered in dust, but the items are all in the first row. On the shelves, there is a high-carbon steel combat shovel, a compound bow with carbon arrows attached, 12 tactical daggers, a versatile first aid kit. Chu Dai's son's breathing becomes rapid. Having these items, not to mention that bald Tun guy, even if going into the deep forest and high mountains, he would dare to walk swaggering, but this is still not the most important thing. In this age of starving to death, the most important thing is food. His consciousness sweeps to the corner of the warehouse. There are several green iron boxes piled up. Printed on the boxes is a line of white text, glowing sparklingly in the space. Military-grade special canned braised pork. Chu Dai's son suddenly opens his eyes wide. His Adam's apple bobs up and down violently. Intense hunger. It's late at night, outside the house. The north wind is still howling, like the sound of crying ghosts and howling wolves, slapping against the rotten wooden boards on the window. Inside the house, it's pitch black. Putting a hand out, you can't see your 5 fingers. Only blood-colored light slips through the broken window crack, barely illuminating a corner of the earthen bed. Chu Dai's son lies at the head of the bed, his eyes wide open like brass bells, unable to sleep, fundamentally unable to sleep. Although his body is exhausted, the fire in his stomach burns even more violently. That feeling of hunger is not emptiness, but pain, like someone holding a blunt knife slicing back and forth in his stomach. Beside him comes his mother's suppressed groans. That's because she is so hungry, so much, so that even in her dreams she cries out in pain. The eldest sister, Chu Chu Lan, doesn't sleep peacefully either, occasionally shuddering, pulling the torn cotton blanket towards her younger siblings. Chu Dai's son takes a deep breath. The freezing cold air fills his chest, suppressing the intense craving in his stomach a bit. He can't wait any longer. If he keeps waiting like this, whether this whole family can wake up tomorrow morning is still an unknown. He closes his eyes. His consciousness once again sinks deep into his head. The massive gray warehouse then locks onto the target of the green iron box in the corner. Just as the thought arises, the palm of his hand suddenly sinks down. That heavy feeling makes Chu Dai's son's heart seem to skip a beat. It is a cylindrical iron can, so it really can be taken out. There are no special effects, no light either, as simple as taking something out of his own pocket. Thanks to the faint light shining through the window crack, he clearly sees the thing in his hand on the moss green iron can. There's a line of white text that makes people go crazy. Braised pork. This quantity in later generations might only equal one takeout meal. But in this era where even rats are skin and bones from hunger, this is a life-saving miracle drug, a priceless treasure. Chu Dai's son's hand trembles slightly. He swallows his saliva, his Adam's apple sliding up and down, making a gulping sound. How to eat this thing? There's not even a pull tab. If he uses a rock to smash it open, The noise will be very loud, and Old Tun's mangy dog next door has very sharp ears. If it barks once, the whole village will hear it. Still have to rely on that thing. His consciousness moves again, a 23 centimeters combat knife, the blade made of high-hardness alloy steel. The spine has a saw edge. That is a murderous weapon. Now being used to open a can, it's truly a bit like using an ox cleaver to kill a chicken, but he doesn't care about that anymore. He holds his breath, sitting up extremely carefully, pulling the blanket over his head, covering himself and the can completely inside. This is to block the light, and also to block the smell. In the cramped space under the blanket, he fumbles to find the knife point against the edge of the can lid. Then uses wrist strength. A very small pop echoes. The sharp knife point pierces the tin shell like cutting tofu. Immediately after, a smell so rich it makes one dizzy instantly blooms under the blanket. It is the smell of fat, the smell of soy sauce and white sugar blended with meat, creating a rich aroma after stewing. Chu Dai's son almost couldn't contain himself and screamed out, "So fragrant, overbearingly fragrant, unreasonably fragrant." He hastily covers the can opening with his hand, his heart thumping, if this smell leaks out even a little bit. Tomorrow the Chu family's door will be packed with villagers with green eyes. In this era, a piece of meat can make people risk their lives, can also make people go crazy. He speeds up, the knife blade gently gliding along the edge of the can. Try not to make metal scraping sounds. After cutting a full circle, he carefully pries the can lid up, thanks to the faint light slipping through the blanket crack. Seeing the contents inside, because the weather is too cold, the meat juice in the can has completely solidified. On top is a thick layer of milky white fat, like an ice cream cone, densely covering the meat pieces underneath. There are no conditions to heat it up. If he lights a fire, the smoke smell and meat smell will be impossible to hide. Can only eat it cold. Chu Dai's son extends 2 fingers, pressing straight into that white fat layer, scooping out a large chunk and stuffing it into his mouth, cold. That is the first sensation. Right after, that solid pork fat quickly melts under the temperature in his mouth, rich and fatty, carrying a bit of salty and sweet taste. The fat glides along the tip of his tongue, sliding in his throat. Wherever it glides, the burning pain is immediately soothed. Chu Dai's son closes his eyes, his whole body trembling. That's fat, the thing that in several million years of human evolution, the most craved thing etched deep in the genes. He suppresses the urge to eat the whole can in one breath, sucking clean the fat stuck on his fingers. Then lifting a corner of the blanket, he reaches out to gently shake his sleeping sister next to him, his voice lowered to the extreme. Almost only a breath sound, calling her Tulan. Tulan is a light sleeper. Just being lightly shaken, she wakes up. She sleepily opens her eyes. Her body instinctively shrinks back. "Brother, what's wrong? Is your stomach hurting again?" The little girl's first reaction is still worrying about her brother. Chu Dai's son doesn't say anything, brings his hand still stained with grease in front of her nose. Tulan freezes. She sniffs. In the darkness, her eyes immediately widen. In her pupils flashes a look of disbelief. Chu Dai's son hastily covers her mouth, pressing both her and her head under the blanket, signaling her not to make sound. Then he hands the open can into her hands. Chulan's hands touch that cold iron block. Her whole body stiffens like a log. That intense, savory meat smell in the tight space under the blanket seems to want to make one faint. Tulan shakes her head vigorously, tears suddenly welling up, wetting the back of Chu Dai's son's hand. "I don't dare to eat. Where did this come from? Did you steal it or rob it? What if you get caught? Eldest brother, you will be beaten to death." Chu Dai's son seems to have seen through the little girl's thoughts. He speaks in a slow, steady, firm tone, saying it's not stolen food. He says he picked it up on a mountain. It's a war reserve stockpile, left over from the old days. Eat it quickly. Don't let Mother hear. Mother is very weak. She can't take the shock. This is a clumsy lie. But in front of this fragrant smell, reason is no longer important. Chu Dai's son loosens his hand, uses his hand to squeeze the leanest piece of meat and stuffs it into the little girl's mouth. That is a firm piece of lean meat, coated in meat jelly on the outside. Tulan chews once subconsciously, At that moment, the little girl's body trembles violently from her throat. A growl comes out like a small beast protecting food. That is instinct. The little girl no longer resists, her two hands tightly clutching that iron can. As if embracing the whole world, she swallows large chunks, completely ignoring chewing. The freezing cold meat makes her choke so hard her eyes roll back. But she absolutely refuses to spit it out, forcing herself to swallow it down at all costs. Tears stream down her cheeks, dropping into the can, mixing with the pork fat, and then swallowed into her stomach. Chu-Dai's son pats her back lightly, telling her to eat slower. Saying no one is fighting her for it, after taking 2 bites, Chu-Lan suddenly stops. She pushes the meat can into Chu-Dai's son's lap, her voice tinged with sobbing, trying to suppress it. "Brother, you eat. I'm not hungry anymore. Leave a little for Chu-Mai. Leave a little for Mother." This is the eldest daughter of the Chu family, clearly starving to the point her limbs are trembling like this. But her first reaction is still to yield to others. A sour feeling rises in Chu-Dai's son's heart. He hardens his heart and pushes the meat can back, saying he already ate. "This can is all yours. Go wake Nhi True and Chu-Mai up. Don't make noise if you dare to yell out, then from now on you won't get a single bite." Chu-Lan sniffles, wipes the tears on her face, then nods vigorously. Her movements are very gentle, crawling to the end of the bed to reach over. Soon, the 2 younger kids are shaken awake. 5-year-old Chu-Mai sleepily sits up, just about to open her mouth to call Mother. She is covered by her eldest sister. Immediately after, a greasy piece of meat is stuffed into her mouth. The little girl is stunned for a second. Then her big eyes that were originally dull and lifeless suddenly light up with a look of astonishment. She is no longer sleepy, nor tired. The 3 children gather around that meat can, bumping heads hiding under the blanket. Having no spoon, Chu-Dai's son uses the knife to dice the meat, telling the kids to just use their hands to grab and eat. The swallowing sounds ring out clearly in the quiet night. His younger brother Chu-Nhi True is the most gluttonous one. This brat is at a growing age, usually so hungry he has to gnaw on tree bark. Now seeing the big pieces of meat, each of their eyes shines brightly. Even the grease stuck on their fingers is licked completely clean. Chu-Dai's son just stares at them, tightly gripping the combat dagger in his hand, alertly listening to the sounds outside. An 800g can of food seems like a lot, but in front of 3 starving children, it's fundamentally a drop in the bucket. In less than 5 minutes, the can is bottomed out. Even the white fat layer solidified at the bottom of the can is scraped clean by Chu-Lan using her finger, dividing it for her younger brother and sister. Chu-Nhi True is still craving, sticking his tongue into the can, licking the inside of the iron can until it's shiny, as if it was just washed. Chu-Mai lets out a satisfied burp, her small face finally having a bit of blood color. She nestles against Chu-Dai's son, her small hand clutching his shirt hem, her voice soft and sweet, saying it's so delicious, just like dreaming. Chu-Dai's son stroked her dry yellow hair. The feeling in his hand is very rough, like dry grass. He says this is not a dream. From now on, I will let you eat meat every day. Chu-Lan startles, hurriedly covering his mouth, telling him not to speak nonsense. If people hear, they will cut off our capitalist tales. In this era, eating meat every day is something only rich landlords dare to think about. Chu-Dai's son doesn't argue back, just takes the empty can. This iron can cannot be kept. The writing on it is too conspicuous. Being seen by others would be a disaster. With a thought, the empty can suddenly disappears, returning to the warehouse in his head, erasing this trace perfectly. He tells everyone to go to sleep, telling them they must remember, nothing happened tonight. Whoever dares to go out and talk nonsense, don't even dream of eating anymore. The 3 children nod desperately, the smell of meat still lingering in their mouths, a little grease in their stomachs. That feeling of happiness makes them float. Not long after, soft snoring sounds ring out. This time they sleep very deeply and soundly. But Chu-Dai's son has not slept yet. He leans against the cold wall, feeling the changes happening in his body. Although he only ate 1 piece of fat, The mental satisfaction makes him much more energized. He looks out the window. It's almost dawn. The snowstorm seems to have stopped. Outside is a vast expanse of white. Today he still has to go to the Westport to clear wasteland. That is the trap Bald Ton dug for him. Also the trap he is forced to jump into, full of jagged rocky mounds. Grass can't even grow, only a step away from the deep mountains and dense forests. Others avoid it like the plague. For him, it is the best hiding place, since heaven has allowed him to be reborn along with a warehouse full of supplies. Then he cannot live a cowardly life. The production team of Bald Ton, the famine, Chu-Dai's son grips the knife in his hand tightly. The blade flashes a cold light in the dark. The corner of his mouth slightly raises, revealing the first smile since coming to this world. That smile doesn't have a trace of warmth, only wildness. The big loudspeaker at the head of the village suddenly blares. The piercing bugle call shatters the tranquility of the dawn, waking the entire Ton Thatch village from deep sleep. A new day has begun. Chu-Dai's son gets off the bed. His movements are no longer sluggish and slow like yesterday. He slips into the torn padded shoes, exposing his toes, stomps twice on the ground. This stomping makes the dust on the ground fly up blindingly. He pushes the door open, taking long strides outside. The cold wind still howls piercingly, but he has straightened his back, his eyes sharp as a knife just drawn from its sheath. In the courtyard, Bald Ton is standing with his hands behind his back, with an insidious smile waiting to see the Chu family's joke. Sarcastically saying Chu-Dai's son is awake. I thought yesterday's terrifying meal had sent him off. Chu-Dai's son stops his steps, turns his head and coldly gives him a glance. Just that one glance makes the smile on Bald Ton's face freeze. What kind of look is that? Yesterday it was still angry. Why today has it turned into the look of watching prey? Early morning is like a large ice cellar. The northwest wind carries snow fragments, swirling around the bare threshing floor. It's just dawn. The large bell of the production team is struck echoing clangs, making a flock of sparrows and the tree branches fly around chaotically. The commune members shrink their necks, shove their hands into their pockets, one after another dragging their steps towards the threshing floor. Each person's face is pale like a dry leaf, eyelids swollen, walking unsteadily. That is due to hunger. Chu-Dai's son mingles in the crowd, looking a bit out of place. Others slouch and bow their heads, wishing they could bury their heads in their collars. But he stands with a straight back, his 2 feet stepping on the frozen snow-covered ground. Every step emits a crisp, crunching sound, extremely steady. The can of braised pork last night was not eaten in vain. 800 grams of fatty meat entered his stomach. After a night of digestion, has now transformed into abundant energy, rolling in his veins. Although his figure still looks skinny, the feeling of weakness seeping from the bones is no longer there. His younger sister, Chu-Lan, follows behind her brother, head bowed, 2 hands tightly clutching her shirt hem. Occasionally, she looks up at her eldest brother's broad, sturdy back. In her eyes, there is both worry and an unprecedented ray of peace. On the large millstone in the middle of the threshing floor, a person is standing. Bald Ton. This guy deliberately changed into a new padded jacket today. Holding a notebook in one hand, holding a tobacco pipe in the other, he is standing up high, putting on airs of a superior. His squinty eyes sweep back and forth across the crowd, as if picking livestock. He yells, saying today's task is very heavy. The commune has issued a strict order. Before the spring, plowing the wasteland must be cleared. Whoever dares to be lazy, don't blame him for turning his back and not recognizing acquaintances. When the time comes, there will be no work points, no grain rations, leaving the whole family, young and old, of that person waiting to drink the northwest wind. The crowd below is in an uproar, but no one dares to make a peep. In this era, the pen in the team leader's hand is the judge's pen. How many work points are recorded for you? Whether you get grain distributed, all are decided by his mouth. Bald Ton is very satisfied with this authority. He clears his throat, starts assigning tasks, good jobs, light jobs he assigns to those who are his relatives, or those who usually give him gifts a lot, leaving the dirty, heavy jobs naturally falling on the honest and simple people, without power or influence. In the crowd, occasionally a few sighs ring out, but they can only accept their fate. Finally, Bald Tun's gaze lands on Chu Dai's son. At that moment, the corner of his mouth raises into an insidious, malicious smile. The humiliation he suffered in the Chu family's courtyard yesterday, today he definitely must get it back. Not only get it back, but also torment this brat until he wishes he were dead. He calls out Chu Dai's son's name loudly. This call rings out unusually. The commune members around instinctively step back to the sides, leaving Chu Dai's son standing alone exposed. Everyone knows, this time the Chu family is about to face a great disaster. Chu Dai's son looks up, expressionlessly looking at old Bald Tun, sitting on the millstone. Only answering with a hear, his voice isn't loud, but very deep. Hiding a strange calmness, old Bald Tun taps his tobacco pipe. Smiling a fake smile, says, Chu Dai's son is a main laborer in the village, and a younger generation coming up behind must set an example. Chu Dai's son says nothing, just silently looks at him. Old Bald Tun is looked at so much that his heart trembles a bit, secretly cursing what the hell, but his words become even more vicious. He says, since Chu Dai's son hasn't said anything, that means he has silently agreed. He announces the wasteland at the Westport will be assigned to him. As soon as these words come out, the entire threshing floor sinks in a dead silence. Right after, the crowd bursts into an uproar like a broken beehive. Someone says, Westport, isn't that taking someone's life? That place is full of crushed rocks. Not even grass can grow. How to clear wasteland? Someone says, right, those rocky mounds underneath is all frozen earth. One strike of the hoe only leaves a white mark. This isn't doing work, this is driving someone to their death. Another person says, this old Bald Tun is too wicked. This is cutting off the Chu family's path of survival. The villagers, because they don't dare to loudly object, but all whisper and discuss below, the eyes looking towards Chu Dai's son are full of sympathy. The area at the Greenstone Ravine is famous for making even ghosts shake their heads. That place borders the deep mountains and dense forests. The treacherous terrain goes without saying. The ravine is full of rocks as big as wash basins. Let alone planting crops. Even planting grass is hard. Moreover, because it's near the mountains, wild beasts often appear extremely dangerous. This Bald Tun is clearly wanting to send Chu Dai's son far away, making him do the heaviest work, calculating the least work points. Eventually, he will have to die of exhaustion on a mountain. Bald Tun glares and roars, telling everyone to shut up. He says this is revolutionary assignment. There's no such thing as picking and choosing. He asks Chu Dai's son if he accepts this job. He stares at Chu Dai's son with a mocking face. He is waiting for Chu Dai's son to cry, waiting for Chu Dai's son to kneel down and beg him, as long as this brat yields. From now on in the village, he will never be able to hold his head up again. His younger sister Chu Chulan is so worried tears well up. Turning around, reaching out to pull Chu Dai's son's sleeve, wanting him to say a submissive word, but Chu Dai's son gently pushes his sister's hand away. He takes a step forward. This step is very long, directly standing at the very front of the crowd. He looks at Bald Tun. The corner of his mouth suddenly raises, revealing white teeth. In his smile, there is no respect. Conversely, it carries a sarcasm that chills people's spines. He asks back, Greenstone Ravine? Bald Tun cranes his neck, saying, that's right, it's Greenstone Ravine. I'm asking if you find it too tiring. He clarifies, if you find it too tiring, you can refuse to do it. Then don't even dream of getting the whole year's grain standard for your family. Chu Dai's son answers decisively, I'll go. These two words directly block the second half of Bald Tun's sentence, forcing him to swallow it back down his throat. The whole crowd is in an uproar. This brat is crazy. This is a suicide mission. Bald Tun also didn't expect it. Chu Dai's son would agree so decisively. In his heart, he is conversely a bit unreconciled. But in front of so many people, the words spoken cannot be taken back. He snorts coldly and says, fine, got guts, but ugly words must be said up front. If that piece of land cannot be cleared, then at the end of the year, don't even think about getting grain distributed. Chu Dai's son coldly cuts him off. If I can't clear it, I don't need grain. This time, even the old party secretary in the village couldn't help it. Having to look at Chu Dai's son a few more times, why does this brat today seem like a different person? Chu Dai's son ignores everyone's gazes. He bends down from the frozen layer of earth beneath his feet, digging out a clod of dirt as hard as rock. This clod of dirt is mixed with ice fragments, as hard as a piece of iron. He holds the clod of dirt in his hand, raises it in midair, stares at Bald Tun, and says, "I also have a condition." Bald Tun subconsciously asks what condition. Chu Dai's son says, "I'm going to the Westport to work. No one to take care of my meals. I will bring my own dry rations, but when I'm working, I don't like having someone standing next to me pointing fingers. Whoever dares to come to the Westport to cause trouble." Saying that, his 5 fingers suddenly tighten, a crisp crack, the clod of dirt frozen hard as rock instantly crumbles in his hand, shattering. Dirt fragments and ice fragments fall scattered through his fingers, falling onto the snow surface, creating small craters. Everyone is dumbfounded. How strong must this hand be? Oh my, that's frozen earth. If that gripped a human bone then. Bald Tun only feels a chill down the back of his neck. He subconsciously shrinks his neck. He feels what Chu Dai's son just crushed is not dirt, but his Adam's apple. Chu Dai's son asks him if he understands. Bald Tun swallows his saliva. Trying to save face, says fine, as long as you can clear that land. Who the hell wants to go to that godforsaken place to visit him? Tells him to scram and go to work. Chu Dai's son says no more nonsense. He turns around from the pile of tools nearby. Picking the heaviest pickaxe, resting it on his shoulder, he instructs his sister, telling the little girl to go home. "Shut the door tight. Don't open it no matter who knocks." His tone becomes a bit gentler. Chu Chulan looks at her brother's back. Tears finally fall. Calling out brother, Chu Dai's son doesn't turn his head back, taking fast strides towards the Westport. His shadow stretches long in the morning sunlight, like a lone wolf, heading towards his own wilderness. Leaving the village, as he walks towards the west, the houses become sparser. The snow accumulated on the roadside gets thicker. Dry yellow weeds poke their heads out from the snow hollows. Shivering in the wind, waiting until the cooking smoke in the village can no longer be seen. The cold expression on Chu Dai's son's face finally dissipates, replaced by an undisguisable excitement. That idiot Bald Tun. These people are truly cute in their stupidity. They think the Westport is a dead land for punishment. But in Chu Dai's son's eyes, this place is simply paradise. The Westport is indeed desolate, rocky, the soil is hard to cultivate. But precisely because it's desolate, normally no one comes here at all. Moreover, the endpoint of the Westport is the Great Hingan Mountains stretching for hundreds of miles. There are wild pheasants, wild roe deer, wild boars. There are countless mountain products and medicinal herbs. For someone who possesses a strategic supply recovery station, and the skills of a special forces scout from his previous life like him, this is not clearing wasteland. It is clearly issuing him a legal hunting license in the mountains. As long as he gets to the Westport, the sky is high and the Emperor is far away. Who can control what he is doing? He carries the pickaxe on his shoulder, his footsteps on the ground getting faster and faster. Half an hour later, Chu Dai's son is standing halfway up the mountain of the Westport. In front of him is a wasteland full of jagged rocks, wild grass growing densely, bizarre rocks jutting out. Going up a few hundred meters more is the pitch-black virgin forest. That forest is like the giant mouth of an abyss, quietly lying on the snowy steppe, emitting a mysterious and dangerous aura. Ordinary people seeing this forest, their calves would turn to jelly. He laughs loudly and says, "Idiot, going to clear wasteland, right?" He looks around in all 4 directions, confirming that within a few miles there isn't a single ghost. With a thought, he commands the system to take out the equipment. The air distorts slightly. The next second, a dark moss-green high-carbon steel combat shovel appears in his hand. This shovel can be folded. The shovel blade is as sharp as a knife. One side has a saw edge. can both dig dirt and chop trees, cut meat, can even be used as a shield to block. Next, he slings a black alloy bow over his back. This bow has a pulley system, both saving effort and shooting accurately, and the power is huge. The quiver is hung by his waist. Inside are 12 carbon arrows. The arrowheads flash a cold light. Chu Dai's son flexes his wrist a bit, feeling the weight of the equipment. That familiar feeling has returned. He is no longer the starving ghost allowing people to bully him. Chu Dai's son right now. He is the apex hunter in this mountain region. His stomach, right on cue, lets out a grumble. The can of meat last night, although very filling. But after the strenuous activity just now, plus this body has been weak for too long. Energy is consumed extremely fast. He licks his dry, cracked lips. Thinking to himself, he must find something to eat first. His gaze turns towards the bushes ahead. There's a line of tiny footprints there, arranged in a herringbone pattern. Extending deep into the forest, it's wild pheasants, and more than one. Chu Dai's son squats down, his fingers gently tracing the tracks on the snow. The snow is very fresh. The footprints are also very clear. He judges they just passed by less than 10 minutes ago. The corner of his mouth raises into a smile. In this era, the wild animals in the mountains still haven't seen humans much. Their vigilance is nowhere near as high as in later generations. He doesn't rush to chase after them. The explosive power of his current body is not enough. Forcing a chase will definitely not catch them. Must use his brain. Chu Dai's son takes out a roll of thin nylon string from his person. This is also stock in his spatial warehouse, originally used to tie strategic supplies. He quickly strings the string between two small trees, creating a tripwire, the height perfectly at the neck position of the pheasants. Then he sets up behind the tripwire, arranging a simple snare trap. As long as the pheasant trips, it will trigger the trap. The snare will tighten instantly. Tightly gripping one of its legs, after setting the traps, Chu Dai's son doesn't sit and wait doing nothing. He makes a large detour, quietly going to the upwind direction, holding a handful of dry pine needles in his hand, tossing them into the air to test the wind direction. The northwest wind is just right. He picks up a rock from the ground, throws it hard towards the bush a few dozen meters away. The rock hits the tree trunk, emitting a crisp sound. In the bushes, there's indeed a commotion. A colorful pheasant gets startled, flaps its wings and flies out, panicking and choosing the wrong path to run. Running towards the direction Chu Dai's son had prepared. This pheasant is very fat, its feathers glossy, its red-eye rings extremely prominent against the white snow. It runs very fast, its two legs spinning like tops, closer, even closer, right at the moment it passes between the two small trees. Its neck hits the nearly invisible nylon string. The immense momentum makes its whole body tumble forward, falling flat on its face before it can stand up. A foot already steps right into the snare trap behind. The trap springs, the nylon string tightens instantly, tightly gripping that chicken leg, hanging it dangling mid-air. The pheasant frantically flaps its wings, colorful feathers flying everywhere, but under the binding of the nylon string. All struggles are futile. Chu Dai's son leisurely steps out from behind the tree. He looks at the upside-down, hanging pheasant. In his eyes, there is no pity, only a craving for food. The first decent meat meal is here. He walks over, adeptly grabs the base of the pheasant's wings, then twists hard. A crack sounds, the pheasant stops making noise, goes limp, and hangs down. Chu Dai's son lifts it to weigh it. Wow, must be 2 kilos heavy if this one is stewed for soup. The fat layer could float covering the whole pot. Right when he is about to put the prey away, the corner of his eye suddenly catches sight of. In a grass clump, not far away, there's a white streak. A few pheasant feathers scattered, and next to the pile of chicken feathers, there is a carefully camouflaged grass nest. Chu Dai's son's heart skips a beat. He hurries over, parts the dry grass to look. In the nest are 8 pheasant eggs neatly arranged. These eggs are slightly smaller than domestic chicken eggs. The eggshells are light brown, with small spots on the surface, although not large. This is all high-quality protein. He smirks, thinking to himself, hit the jackpot this time. This luck is truly defying heaven. He carefully picks up each pheasant egg, wraps them in dry grass, then hides them in his clothes, feeling the warm heat pressing against his skin, making him feel much more reassured. The matter doesn't stop there. Having entered the forest, he can't just focus on one chicken. Chu Dai's son throws the pheasant into his spatial dry warehouse. Inside is a static state. Whatever state it's put in is exactly how it will be taken out, absolutely keeping its freshness. He continues to grope deeper into the forest. Having the recent harvest, his confidence rises even higher. This forest to others is a forbidden zone. To him, this place is truly a natural market. Not long after, he discovers under a fallen dry tree a pheasant pecking at pine nuts. This time he doesn't use a trap. He quietly takes down the compound bough from his back, loads an exploratory arrow, distance 30 m. Chu Dai's son takes a deep breath, holds his breath, the muscles on his arm tense, the bowstring is pulled taut. Emitting a soft hum, the red dot in the sight steadily locks onto the pheasant's head. His finger gently releases. The arrow pierces the air, flying away, so fast the naked eye can't see clearly. That pheasant hadn't even let out a single cry, and was pierced through the head by an arrow, pinned firmly to the dry tree trunk. The power of this compound bough is even greater than he imagined. Chu Dai's son walks over, pulls the arrow out, wipes the dirt off it, then puts it back in a quiver. 2 pheasants, 8 eggs. If he brings this loot back to the village, it could make that bald ton red with envy. But he knows this is still not enough. This amount of stuff is only enough for the whole family to eat 2 full meals. Wanting to survive this famine year, he must hunt larger prey. However, his current body has begun to protest. Having just exercised a bit, making the energy stored from the canned pork last night, consumed more than half, his stomach begins to ache dully again. His limbs are also a bit weak. He thinks to himself he must replenish some energy. Glancing at the sky, the sun has reached its peak. It must be noon. He finds a wind-sheltered hollow, confirms no one is around, decides to eat a meal by himself first. This is not being selfish. He is the pillar of the family. Only when he eats full can he recover. Then he can continuously bring food home. If he collapses, then that whole family of a widow and orphans will truly only have one path to death. Chu Dai's son takes out from his space the pheasant shot dead by the arrow. This one is quite skinny, probably over 2 caddies. He quickly plucks the pheasant's feathers, guts it, and removes the organs, throws the organs far away to avoid attracting large beasts. Having no water to wash it clean, he uses its own clean blood to wipe it roughly. Then he digs a hole in the ground, lights a small fire. The fire can't be too big. Smoke also shouldn't billow much. He exclusively chooses hard, bone-dry wood, burning almost without smoke, only pure heat. He rests the pheasant over the fire to roast. Soon, the chicken skin begins to shrink. Golden fat oozes from under the skin, dripping onto the hot coals, flaring up bursts of seductive aroma. Chu Dai's son also fishes out a small packet of salt from his space. This is also an item in the strategic supplies, although not much. It's enough to sprinkle a bit of refined salt. The aroma is immediately elevated to a new level. Chu Dai's son swallows his saliva loudly, tears off a chicken thigh, ignoring that it's still burning hot, just stuffs it straight into his mouth. The chicken skin is crispy. The chicken meat is fresh and tender, blending with the faint pine wood smell and the salty taste of salt, a marvelous item. Taking this bite, it truly is an immortal's life. He devours it. The hot meat enters his stomach, turning into a rolling stream of heat, quickly compensating for the body's deficit. A pheasant over a caddy is gnawed completely clean by him. Even the bones are chewed up and swallowed. Eating and drinking his fill, Chu Dai's son puts out the fire, uses snow to bury the traces, pats his stomach, feeling his whole body brimming with strength. The him of right now is truly resurrected. He glances at the remaining plump pheasant in his space. And the 8 eggs, those are saved for his mother and siblings. He thinks to himself it's time to go home, standing up, putting the combat shovel and compound bow back into the space. Holding only the pickaxe in his hand for show, he glances at the wasteland in the west border. still as bare as before, but he doesn't care as long as he has grain in his hands. His heart won't panic. As for that bald ton, Chu Dai's son sneers, thinking the show has only just begun. The sun has just tilted west. The light in the forest has darkened. Chu Dai's son squats in a filled dirt ditch, holding the 2 pheasants that just died in his hands, calculating in his mind, if this item is just carried openly back to the village, it would truly be seeking death. Ton-thatch village right now. Even a dead rat is enough to make people red-eyed, let alone 2 fat chickens. If seen by Bald Ton, he'd be slapped with the hat of digging up the socialist foundation. Won't get to eat the meat, and still have to be criticized and denounced. He thinks he must handle it cleanly. Chu Dai's son's hands and feet are nimble, digging a deep hole in the dirt ditch, gutting the pheasants right away, taking out the organs, keeping the heart and liver, burying the intestines deep underground to guard against wolves. He doesn't pluck the feathers, both wasting effort and hard to clean up. He goes straight to the stream to dig a big lump of yellow clay, smearing it against the grain of the feathers onto the chicken's body, rubbing it all the way to the roots, wrapping them into 2 perfectly round clay lumps. This is the most rustic yet effective beggar's chicken dish. No need for a pot, no need for water, just do it in clay. The delicious smell also can't leak out, lining a layer of rocks at the bottom of the hole, lighting a fire burning until the rocks are burning hot, then tossing the 2 clay lumps in. The clay layer heats up, then continue burning. The waiting time is the most grueling. Chu Dai's son leans against the tree trunk, his stomach growling intensely. Even though he just ate one earlier, his current body is like a bottomless pit. No matter how much oil and grease can't fill it. 1 hour later, the fire has reached its temperature. He digs out the top layer of dirt, smashes the clay layer that has been baked hard as rock. The clay shell shatters. The chicken feathers also slide off cleanly like taking off a coat. A rich, fragrant meat smell immediately spreads. The chicken meat is revealed white and tender, shining with a golden color. The fat under the skin sizzles. Chu Dai's son doesn't eat alone. He takes out a few broad leaves, carefully tears off the chicken thighs and the thick, meaty chicken breast. The meat is too tender. The sweet juice runs down his fingers. He has to try hard to suppress the desire to swallow his fingers too, wrapping these best pieces of meat up for large packets, save for his mother and siblings, the rest consisting of bones, neck, wingtips, and organs. Is his extra meal. In this era of deadly famine, he is the breadwinner, must eat full to have strength to find meat, but the best things must be saved for his family. Life-saving, Chu Dai's son grabs the chicken skeleton, opens his mouth, and gnaws. The bones are crispy. The bone marrow is rich. He's like a grinding machine. Both cartilage and meat scraps are chewed up in less than 10 minutes. The 2 chicken skeletons are handled cleanly. Even the pork cracklings falling on the leaves are licked completely clean. A satisfied burp rings out. His stomach warms up. His stamina has recovered by 8 parts. He puts out the fire, uses fresh dirt and snow to cover the traces, securely hides the 4 hot meat packets in his clothes, then sets off back to the village. When entering the village, it's already pitch black, passing by the old elm tree at the village entrance. A few ants are gathering at the base of the wall gossiping. Look, the eldest son of the Chu family is back. Must be very hungry. Chu Dai's son deliberately slouches, drags his feet, pretending to be half dead, coughing twice. The eyes of that crowd are full of schadenfreude. Chu Dai's son sneers in his heart. Go ahead and laugh. Later I'll close the door and eat meat, leaving you all to drink the northwest wind. Returning to the dilapidated courtyard. The house is pitch black. He slips inside, then latches the door. Chu Lan timidly calls out, brother, on the bed. 3 thin, small figures sit up. Mother says weakly, Dai's son, tomorrow don't go anymore. That bald ton guy is deliberately torturing you. Chu Dai's son says nothing, throws the pickaxe down, takes off his padded jacket. A wave of meat aroma mixed with body heat immediately spreads throughout the cold, gloomy room. In the dark, someone swallows a gulp of saliva. The sound is loud as thunder. Chu Dai's son lowers his voice. Magical item. Tells everyone to seal the window tight. Chu Lan is the fastest to react. She takes rags to stuff all the cracks, making sure not a single ray of light leaks out. Chu Dai's son takes out the 4-leaf packets. Under the moonlight, the large, golden, fatty chicken thigh looks like a glowing gemstone. Chu Mai hurriedly covers her mouth, almost screaming out. Chu Inchai true saliva drips all over his chin. Chu Dai's son says this is wild pheasant. He stuffs a chicken thigh into his mother's and sister's hands. He says this is thigh meat, very nutritious, and the breast meat is all lean meat. Eat it to fill your stomach. Chu Lan's hand trembles, asking her brother where's his share. Chu Dai's son says he already ate 2 chicken skeletons on the mountain, very greasy. Those hungry kids then become the most wonderful sound. In the room, there is only the sound of frantic devouring. Chu Nhi true tears at it like a starving wolf, eating until his eyes roll back but still doesn't stop. Chu Mai eats while crying, her mouth mumbling so fragrant. The mother chews very carefully. Every bite is like using all her strength in less than 10 minutes. The 4 large meat packets are eaten clean. Chu Nhi true even licks the wrapping leaf clean without leaving a single drop. Chu Mai rubs her stomach saying, "Brother, tonight is even happier than Tet." Chu Dai's son rubs her head saying, "From now on our house will have Tet every day." Chu Lan startles, hurriedly covers his mouth, tells him not to talk nonsense. If others hear, we'll get our capitalist tails cut off. In this era, getting to eat meat every day is something only landlords dare to think about. Chu Dai's son doesn't argue back, just quietly looks out at the pitch-black night outside the window, his eyes deep after letting the whole family sleep. Chu Dai's son lies on the bare wooden bed, unable to sleep. 2 chickens are only enough for 2 meals. The house lacks food and clothing. Just eating meat doesn't solve the root problem. He needs money, needs ration coupons, and pheasant meat is too little, not worth much money. He must find something else. Must be a large prey. His thoughts sweep through the warehouse in his head. His gaze stops at the military crossbow and a few alloy arrows in the corner. This thing has much more terrifying destructive power than the compound bow. Today in the forest, he discovered a string of deep footprints. The edges of the hoof prints rough. It's a wild boar. Moreover, it must be at least over 100 caddies. How much money can one boar skin be exchanged for? A boar gallbladder? How many medicinal coupons can it be exchanged for? Chu Dai's son licks his lips, a flash of greed in his eyes. He thinks to himself, tomorrow go 5 kilometers deep inside. Do a big one the next day when the sky is still not fully light. Chu Dai's son drinks half a bucket of pure water in his space, climbs over the wall to go out. He walks quickly, crossing the jagged rocky field. Slipping deep into the old forest, the snow here is over the knees. Every step takes a lot of effort, but he feels his whole body blazing with spirit. Walking for about 5 kilometers, the surroundings are terrifyingly quiet. In the air lingers a foul stench. Chu Dai's son stops his steps, sniffs. The smell is too strong. Right ahead, he tightly grips the combat shovel, hides behind a large red pine tree, pokes his head out to look. Over 20 m away, a pitch-black wild boar is using its snout to root the dirt looking for food. Looking at its eyes, it must be over 100 kilograms. Its whole body covered in black hair, stiff as steel swords, its fangs protruding outside. A rock as big as a wash basin is flipped over by it with one snort. Oh, mother, this is truly a mountain of demon meat. Chu Dai's son's heart thumps, but this animal has thick skin and fat meat. A compound bow at close range might not take it down in one shot. What if it charges? This small body of mine will be done for. Must use a trick. He aims at a fallen dry tree nearby. Forming a pinched angle, takes out from his space a bunch of pheasant organs still stained with blood. Throws them onto the open ground, then uses both hands and feet, climbs up the large red pine tree next to it. Sitting on a branch 3 m high, he puts the bow away, switches to using the high-carbon steel combat shovel. At this distance, the shovel is even more effective than arrows. Utilizing the potential energy when jumping down from above, one strike can split its skull. The wild boar smells the bloody scent, vigilantly walks a circle. After confirming there is not a single suspicious animal, but he still tightly grips the shovel without letting go. 2 feet step on the boar's back, borrowing the force to press down hard. The sound of bones breaking echoes. The wild boar's tragic howl turns into groans. The massive body crashes down, flipping sideways onto the ground. The animal convulses continuously. Fresh blood dyes the white snow red. Chu Dai's son sits down exhausted on the ground, panting heavily. His hands tremble, but not out of fear, but out of exhaustion. He wipes the streak of blood on his face. Looking at the pile of meat before him, he smiles. In this era, this thing is life. Over 100 caddies of meat cannot all be brought back. Bringing it into the village would definitely be confiscated. Chu Dai's son drags the boar behind a dry tree trunk, then butchers it. He skins it with extremely proficient technique, first taking out the most precious boar gallbladder, and hides it safely on his person, then chops down the 2 hind legs weighing about 20 caddies. The remaining boar head, ribs, and organs cannot be taken all away. He digs a deep hole, burying it all, then makes a mark. The sky is getting late. He slings the 2 boar legs over his neck, one hanging in front, one hanging in back, wearing the torn padded jacket on the outside. Because of this, he looks bulky like a fat guy. But if one doesn't get close to touch, they wouldn't be able to realize it's over 40 caddies of meat. The heavy weight presses painfully on his shoulders, but his heart is as happy as if a festival is opening. He deliberately chooses a deserted small path to return to the village. Climbing over the wall into the courtyard, Chu Lan opens the door, seeing the thing her eldest brother threw onto the bed. It's 2 huge, bloody boar legs. She is so scared she has to cover her mouth, asking this pig, "Why is it so big?" The mother, with trembling hands, touches the piece of meat, saying, "Dai's son, are you risking your life?" Chu Dai's son wipes the blood on his hands, saying, "Mother, wealth is found in danger." Then he says these 2 legs our family won't eat. Chu Inichai True's face falls, asks, "Not eating?" Chu Dai's son glares, "Eat my foot. These 2 legs can be exchanged for food for the whole family to eat for 1 year. Eating them now is squandering wealth. Meat can't be kept long. Exchanging it for grain, money, and ration coupons is the long-term plan." He instructs Chu Lan to boil water to wash the bloodstains clean, hang them on the rafters to dry, and asks mother to mend the torn basket. Chu Dai's son looks out the window. The night is pitch black. His eyes deep. He says he heard there is a black market in the district town. Tomorrow he will go scout the way. Under the old elm tree at the village entrance, which is the intelligence hub of Ton Thatch Ravine. Right now, having just finished a bowl of watery wild vegetable soup, so thin you can see reflections, a group of men, old and young, are gathered here chatting to pass the hunger. Someone says, "Heard anything?" That abandoned brick kiln in the west of the district town, every 1st and 15th of the lunar month there is that thing. The old man holds up 2 fingers, forming a character 8, that is slang, meaning wealth from all directions. A young man interrupts and asks, "Is it the pigeon market?" Truong Bo slaps him once, scolding, "Do you want to die? How can you say those words out loud?" But then adds a sentence, "As long as you don't expose your wealth. Over there you can really exchange for relief grain." Chu Dai's son is clear in his heart. Today is the 14th of the lunar calendar. Tomorrow night is the time. He deliberately puts on a foolish look, asks Truong Bo, "Can you really exchange things there? I heard that's a place that takes people's lives." Truong Bo glares at him, says, "It is a bit chaotic, but there are rules." "What? Do you want to go?" Chu Dai's son shrinks his neck, says, "How would I dare? My house is so poor. Even rats running and have to cry running out. What do I have to exchange?" Everyone bursts into laughter. Who doesn't know the Chu family is extremely poor? Chu Dai's son also laughs foolishly along, but the fists in his sleeves clench tightly. Arriving home, Chu Dai's son shuts the window tight, directly lays his cards on the table with his mother, saying tomorrow he has to go to the city. The needle in his mother's hand almost pricks her skin. She says, "Inspections, they're very strict," then asks what he is going to do. Chu Dai's son casually makes up a lie, saying he's going to deliver a letter to his second uncle and conveniently exchanging those 2 wild boar legs for money and grain. He points at the wild boar legs that have been dried for a night on the rafters, saying if our family eats this meat, it's truly like eating a mountain away, At most, it can only last half a month. Only exchanging it for money and ration coupons is the long-term way to survive. After settling his family, Chu Dai's son's consciousness sinks into the storage warehouse in his head. Guns and ammo won't do, military goods are too conspicuous. Finally, his gaze stops at a pile of white powder in the corner that is military refined white sugar, one 500g bag, transparent plastic packaging. Without any writing, here even brown sugar requires ration coupons. This highly pure white sugar is a special item used to save the lives of critically ill patients. Even more precious than gold, he shifts his thoughts, pours the white sugar into the prepared coarse cloth bag. The transparent sugar crystals sparkle under the oil lamp. Chu Lan widens her eyes, asks, "What is this?" Chu Dai's son pinches a little and stuffs it into his sister's mouth. Chu Mai's eyes immediately narrow into a line. Saying sweet, even sweeter than tech candy, Chu Dai's son says, "This is white sugar, our first batch of gold." The next day before dawn, Chu Dai's son carries the heavy basket on his back and sets off. At the bottom is the white sugar. In the middle is pressed the wild boar legs, on top covered with licorice and a few bundles of trash straw. In his clothes, he also hides 8 boiled pheasant eggs as dry rations. Over 40 miles of mountain road. If it were before, he would have been exhausted long ago. Now, having drunk the spatial water, eaten meat, his legs walk as if flying. Arriving at the district town, he doesn't rush to act, just loiters until 2 a.m. This is the darkest time before dawn, also the time the black market is busiest. Chu Dai's son slips into a public restroom. When he comes out, his face is smeared with a thick layer of soot. His torn, padded jacket worn inside out, revealing a sheepskin patch, a dogskin hat covering most of his face. With this look, even his own mother wouldn't recognize him if she came, fumbling to the gate of an abandoned brick and tile factory in the west of the city. There are 2 burly guys holding wooden sticks standing there. The burly guy aggressively gestures at the gate. Chu Dai's son doesn't speak extra words, takes out 2 still hot-boiled pheasant eggs and passes them over. The burly guy squeezes them. Satisfied, steps aside to let him pass. The courtyard is packed with people, pitch black, no lights, only the light of matches occasionally flashing, illuminating faces that are both greedy and vigilant. The air is full of body odor and a musty smell. This is the gathering place of desires. Chu Dai's son finds a corner and squats down, tilting the basket on his back, revealing a hint of red of the boar leg. In less than 2 minutes, a skinny old man approaches, asks how the meat is sold. Chu Dai's son says he only wants high-quality grain coupons or industrial coupons. The old man says he only has some money. Chu Dai's son decisively refuses, successively refusing a few groups of people, all just looking, while he is waiting for a big fish. Finally, a middle-aged man wearing a military overcoat walks over. His steps steady, his gaze sharp. One look, and you know he's not an ordinary guy. He stops in front of Chu Dai's son, his eyes like daggers piercing straight into the basket. Says he wants to take a look. Chu Dai's son moves the dry grass aside. The man touches the meat grain, raises his eyebrows, and says it's wild boar meat. The hind leg meat is all lean meat. Truly good stuff? Asks how much there is. Chu Dai's son says 40 kilograms. The man is very decisive. Says he'll buy it all. Tells Chu Dai's son to name a price. Chu Dai's son asks what he has. The man pulls out a stack of ration coupons, smiles, saying national grain coupons, industrial coupons, cloth coupons, bicycle coupons. He has them all. As long as the goods are good, money is not a problem. This is the person Chu Dai's son wants to find, the big boss of the area, Old Ma. Chu Dai's son immediately quotes a price. Says this meat, if he wants it, 30 kilograms of national grain coupons, plus 50 yuan. Old Ma raises his eyebrows, says your greed is too big. Says the price of pork on the market is 1.5 yuan. Calculating at this price is almost 3 yuan. Chu Dai's son calmly says this is wild meat. No need for coupons. Moreover, he still has a good item. After seeing it, you won't find it expensive anymore. While speaking, he takes a cloth bag out from the basket, unties the string, thanks to the faint flashlight beam in the man's hand. The pure white sugar, transparent and sparkling like snow, immediately blinds both of their eyes. In the dark, the flashlight beam is pinned tightly to that bag of white sugar. Old Moz Adams' apple bobs violently, like a duck being strangled. His shrewd eyes are now wide open, reaching out a rough finger, wanting to touch but not daring to touch. Finally, he carefully pinches a small pinch and puts it in his mouth. As soon as it enters his mouth, it melts instantly. The ultimate pure sweetness shoots straight to the top of his head. Old Ma inhales a breath of cold air, suddenly looks up staring at Chu Dai-sun. His eyes have changed. Just now, looking at the pork, he still considered Chu Dai-sun a hunter. Now it's like looking at a moving mountain of gold. His voice is hoarse, carrying a bit of flattery, asking where did you get this top-grade item. Chu Dai-sun coldly ties the bag tightly, stuffs it back into the basket, says this matter you don't need to worry about, just say straight out if you can swallow it. If you can't swallow it, I'll change to another house. Saying that he is about to stand up, Old Ma panics, hurriedly holds the basket down, his strength shockingly great, tells him not to go, says that in this land, besides him Old Ma, no one else dares to accept such tough goods. Finding someone else is just like throwing meat buns to dogs. Chu Dai-sun stops his movements, his face covered in soot. He coldly stares at him. Says then let's negotiate the price. Old Ma takes a deep breath, rolls his eyes around, says the wild boar meat is indeed not bad, but right now frozen meat is also not a rare item. 1 yuan to a caddy. I'll take it all, still trying to force the price down. Chu Dai-sun chuckles, slings the basket on his shoulder, and is about to walk away. Says Old Ma has no sincerity. Wild boar hind legs are much more fragrant than domestic pork. Haven't even mentioned I'm the one bearing the risk. 2 yuan and a half is already a sky-high price. Chu Dai-sun says nothing, quietly looks at him, looking so much that Old Ma feels a chill in his heart. A few seconds later, Chu Dai-sun speaks leisurely. Meat 2 yuan and a half. Not selling if short a single cent. Old Ma grits his teeth, his face looking as pained as if his intestines were cut. Says fine, 2 yuan and a half is 2 yuan and a half, but what about this bag of sugar? His gaze is glued to the cloth bag again, in the era where even brown sugar has to be bought with ration coupons. This bag of special-grade refined white sugar is a strategic supply. Knowing how to use it can exchange for priceless things. Chu Dai-sun holds out one hand, 5 fingers spread wide. Old Ma is overjoyed, asks, 5 yuan a caddy, huh? Says, I'll take it all. Chu Dai-sun looks at him like looking at an idiot. Says, what are you thinking? 100 caddies of national grain coupons, plus 10 yuan in cash. This is the final price. Old Ma almost jumps up, asks, 10 yuan a caddy, and still have to add 5 caddies of coupons? Asks, is this sugar made of gold? Chu Dai-sun's voice is as calm as discussing the weather. Says this thing is even more precious than gold. This kind of sugar, you won't find a second bag in the whole province. Bringing it to the big courtyards as gifts, paving the way for business. How much weight does it carry? You know best in your heart. If you find it expensive, I'll leave right now. Saying that, he actually stands up, slips into the darkness. Old Ma hurriedly calls him back, completely silenced, thinking this brat is both cunning and vicious, absolutely not the type to joke around. The old man has to yield. Old Ma grinds his teeth, pulls out a thick stack tied with ration coupons and paper money. Starts counting, says pork 40 caddies, 2 yuan and a half a caddy. Here is 100 yuan, white sugar 1 caddy, 10 yuan plus 5 caddies of coupons. Chu Dai-sun cuts him off, says the pork money he wants half in cash, half in ration coupons. Cloth coupons, cotton coupons, industrial coupons, he takes them all. Old Ma smiles bitterly, says this brat truly knows how to calculate. Says fine, this old man has them. After a complex exchange process. The final plan is finalized. Old Ma pulls out a stack of green and red coupons and a few 10 yuan bills. Chu Dai-sun receives the money and coupons. 10 feet of cloth coupons, 2 caddies of cotton coupons, 5 industrial coupons. Chu Dai-sun's heart thumps. In this era, where a Tier 1 worker's monthly salary is 18 yuan, this is a whole fortune, especially those 30 caddies of national grain coupons. Going anywhere, they are a valuable item. Confirming no mistakes, the transaction is complete. Old Ma hugs the pork legs and sugar. The look of regretting the money disappears, replaced by the extreme joy of a bargain. The old man passes over a great production Bran cigarette, asks how to address Chu Dai's son. Later, if he has good goods, come find the old man again. Chu Dai's son doesn't take the cigarette, lowers his hat brim, covering his face, and says, "Just call me San Mu." After saying that, he turns around and blends into the pitch-black night. Old Ma looks at his back, smacks his lips, and says, "This brat Samu is truly a tough guy." The burly man guarding nearby leans in, whispers asking if they should follow him, saying that brat is very lucrative. Old Ma slaps the guy, the burly guy spins in place. Scolding him, "What's the use? If you want to die, don't drag me along. Someone who can take out this special grade white sugar. How could they be an ordinary person? What if there's backing behind them? When you die, you won't even know why." Chu Dai's son leaves the brick factory, exclusively weaving into dead-end alleys and blind corners. The instinct of someone who used to be a scout makes him always vigilant anytime, anywhere. Walking a distance, he presses against the foot of the wall to listen for movements. After making sure no one is following, he breathes a sigh of relief. Right now, it's 4 a.m. The streets in the district town are completely deserted. He goes into a public restroom and washes off half the soot layer on his face. Adjusts the padded jacket on his body, pulls the hat brim down low, touching the warm stack of money in his chest. The blood in his body boils up. Finally has money now. This is the capital for the whole family to live on. His stomach growls at the wrong time. His spirit just relaxed a bit. Extreme hunger strikes. Chu Dai's son looks up. A rich, fragrant meat smell drifts over with the wind. Coming from the state-run restaurant, it's the smell of meat buns. He swallows his saliva loudly. His eyes light up, thinking to himself he must go eat a very full meal. He takes fast strides towards the state-run restaurant, the scene of slapping money on the table, then loudly ordering 5 meat buns. He has dreamed of that scene countless times. Today it's finally about to come true. The sky has completely brightened. The morning in the district town faintly smells of chilly coal smoke. Chu Dai's son stands at a street corner, takes a deep breath, feeling his internal organs are all refreshed. He subconsciously reaches into his padded jacket, touching the bulging cloth bag again. That bumpy feeling is money. The soft stuff is ration coupons, 50 yuan in money, 30 caddies of national grain coupons. There's also a mixed stack of industrial coupons, cloth coupons, cotton coupons, in this era where pork only costs a few dimes a caddy. This amount of money is enough to make a person stand straight and live. His stomach grumbles, starts growling, but he doesn't rush to eat. There are things more important than eating. Chu Dai's son pulls his torn padded jacket tight, goes straight to the supply and marketing cooperative on the most bustling street. It's still not opening time, but a long line of people is already queued up in front of the door. People are shivering, burying their hands, tightly gripping crumpled bills in their hands. Their eyes clearly show anxiety. The aunt in front whispers, saying she heard the cooperative just got a little brown sugar. She must fight to buy half a caddy. Her daughter-in-law is in confinement without milk. Chu Dai's son quietly lines up at the end of the line. The large doors open. The crowd rushes in like a tide. The staff member wearing a blue long coat looks impatient, straining their neck yelling, "Don't push anymore and we won't sell anything." This yell really works. The sales clerk of the cooperative is state personnel. No one dares to offend them. Chu Dai's son follows the crowd, squeezing inside. Inside, filled with a mixed smell of soy sauce, floral cloth, and kerosene. He doesn't join the noisy crowd fighting for brown sugar. Nor does he look at the industrial items he can't afford. He goes straight to the grocery counter. Behind the counter, a fat woman is cracking melon seeds, not even bothering to lift her eyelids. Asks, "What are you buying? Speak quickly." Chu Dai's son knocks on the glass counter, says, "Give me 5 caddies of coarse salt, 1 box of matches, add 2 spools of black thread, 1 spool of white thread, 1 packet of large sewing needles." The fat person's melon seed cracking action stops. finally deigning to look straight at him once, seeing it's a poor brat wearing a torn padded jacket. The hat even has a hole. He knits his brows, pouts his lips, asking if he has coupons, has money. Don't just come here to tease me because you're craving. This is also hard to blame. Normal families buying salt only buy a few tails at a time. Who buys 5 caddies all at once? Chu Dai's son says no more, pulls out a crumpled 1 yuan bill and a few industrial coupons, lightly places them on the glass counter. The action isn't strong, but very decisive. That 1 yuan bill looks extremely dazzling on the glass counter. The fat guy picks up the money and turns it under the light, mutters a sentence, looks like a beggar, but quite generous with money. He stands up, goes to the big vat to scoop salt. Chu Dai's son needs so much salt because he has an important use for it. The prey hunted later must be salted to preserve. Without salt, it'll stink. In 2 days, 5 caddies of salt enter the bag, making the bag heavy. Next is 10 boxes of matches. That's the lifeblood for living deep in the mountains. Finally, needles and thread to mend the cotton pants for his sister Chu Chiu Mai. Her knees are already exposed. If not mended, she'll freeze. Total 1 yuan, 3 dimes, 5 cents. Chu Dai's son pockets the change, stuffs the stuff into the basket. The feeling of spending money to exchange for supplies makes his heart extremely steady. Before leaving, he walks a circle in the cooperative. A brand new flying pigeon bicycle with 2 crossbars, 168 yuan plus 1 coupon. A Panda brand radio, 50 yuan with industrial coupons. He can afford to buy all these things now, but absolutely won't add to his purchases. Displaying wealth is not wise. A poor brat in the mountains suddenly wearing a watch, riding a bicycle. Then that's truly courting death. He thinks to himself, sooner or later there will be a day he will bring all these things home. Chu Dai's son just steps out of the main gate. A cold wind blows by. The feeling of hunger strikes again. This time he doesn't hold back, following the seductive aroma, running straight to the state-run restaurant. Before even entering the door, the pure smell of pork and scallion filling makes people salivate. Lifting the thick cotton curtain, the hot steam in the room hits his face. Chu Dai's son walks to the counter and says, "Give me 5 meat buns." The waiter doesn't bother to look up, says meat buns 1 dime and a half each, 2 tails of grain coupons. Pay money in coupons first. 5 buns is 7 dimes, 5 cents, plus 1 caddy of grain coupons if it were before. This amount of money would be enough to spend half a year's savings of the Chu family. Chu Dai's son's face doesn't change color. He pulls out 1 yuan and 1 caddy of national grain coupons, slapping them on the table. The waiter is just about to ask, "Don't need change?" Then immediately reacts. After collecting the money and coupons, she yells into the kitchen, 5 large meat buns. This yell makes all the diners in the hall turn their heads to look. Who is so generous? Buying 5 at once. Soon, a large tray holding buns as big as fists is brought out. White and chubby, steaming hot, the bun skin even shiny with grease. Chu Dai's son grabs one, burning hot, but he doesn't let go. He opens his mouth wide, taking a huge bite. The hot meat juice bursts in his mouth. The bun skin is soft and fluffy. The meat filling is fresh and delicious. The rich, fatty taste immediately fills his mouth, fragrant, so fragrant he wants to swallow his tongue. He devours it, swallowing it all in a few bites. A stream of warmth flows down his esophagus to his stomach. Every pore on his body seems to relax, as if coming back to life. This is the life of a human. Looking at the remaining 4 buns on the plate, he tries to suppress the urge to eat one more. At home, there's still his mother and siblings. They are still gnawing on bran cakes. He calls the waiter, asking for a piece of oil paper, saying he wants to pack them to take away. Chu Dai's son wraps the 4 buns up carefully, then hides them in his clothes, pressing them against his chest. He straightens his back and walks out of the restaurant, facing the piercing cold wind, taking fast strides as if flying out of the city. The warmth in his chest seems to also warm his heart. Over 40 miles of mountain road, Chu Dai's son walks, as if flying. When he returns to Tan Thatch Ravine, the sun has tilted to the west, just arriving at the village entrance. Some villagers are gathering under the old elm tree, pointing and whispering, "Isn't that the brat from the Chu family? His chest is bulging with a lump." Could it be he stole something? These gossiping words just enter his ears. A shrill, sharp voice suddenly rings out. Isn't this Dai's son? Where did you go get rich and come back? Were you hiding in your clothes? A treasure. Chu Dai's son stops his steps. Without turning his head, he knows who it is, the wife of Bald Tun, the production team leader, the most shrewish and gossipy woman in the village. She sniffs her nose, then says, "Smells good, huh? Is it meat buns in your clothes? I smell it." This yell attracts everyone's gaze. In this era of deadly famine, the three words meat buns are louder than a thunderclap. Chu Dai's son reflexively hugs his chest tight. That is his family's life-saving food. He coldly drops four words, says, "What's it to you?" His gloomy eyes, like a lone wolf guarding its food. Fat Tun is stunned for a moment, then immediately bristles, cursing him as a little brat. Daring to curse an elder, yells out calling people to judge, saying this airless Chu family brat definitely stole things. Otherwise, why hide it so carefully? The villagers' eyes change, carrying suspicion and greed driven by hunger. If it's stolen goods, confiscated, then maybe everyone can get share. A few people surround him, telling him to take it out to sea. If you have no guilty conscience, then let everyone see. The murderous intent in Chu Dai's son's heart flares up, but he can't fight. If he fights, he won't be able to keep the buns. He tells them to get out of the way, says he went to the city to deliver a letter for his second uncle. It's a gift they gave him. Does he have to take this out to share with them too? Taking advantage of people still being stunned, he drops his shoulder, suddenly charges forward, bumping into Fat Tun, blocking the way, making her stagger. With wind under his feet, he slips into the alley and runs away. Fat Tun's wife is so angry, she stomps her feet, screaming and saying, "Just you wait. Say she'll go find his family right now." Chu Dai's son rushes into his family's dilapidated courtyard, then slams the door shut and latches it. Inside the house is pitch black. Mother and sister are shivering under the blanket, their eyes dull from hunger. Chu Chumai calls out weakly, "Brother." Chu Dai's son takes out the oiled paper packet, opens it with a rustle. A rich smell of meat and scallions immediately spreads. The room is deathly silent. Chu Chumai seems to come alive, drooling profusely. Chu Chulan's throat makes a gulping sound. Chu Dai's son places the four large steaming buns on the wooden table, telling everyone to eat quickly while it's hot. Chu Chumai lifts the bun that's even bigger than her fist with both hands. Takes a big bite. Grease runs all over her mouth. Tears just fall freely. She says it's so fragrant, while the mother doesn't dare to eat. Planning to push it back, Chu Dai's son insists on forcing it on her, saying he already ate in the city. This is from second uncle, telling mother to eat with peace of mind. In the room, there's only the sound of swallowing food and suppressed sobbing. These four large buns, to their family, are no different from exotic delicacies. After finishing eating, Chu Chumai even licks clean the bun crumbs stuck on the wrapping paper. With a look of complete satisfaction, she asks her brother, "Am I dreaming, brother?" Chu Dai's son says it's not a dream. From now on, we will eat meat every day. However, this warm moment is very short-lived. Outside the courtyard, suddenly comes the sound of hurried footsteps. The hateful voice of Fat Tun rings out, yelling loudly, "This is the house. I saw with my own eyes he hid meat buns in his clothes. Surely he stole the production team's chicken." Right after is Bald Tun's roar, calling Chu Dai's son to open the door. He says someone reported you for speculating and profiteering, stealing collective property, tells you to open the door for inspection immediately. The air in the house seems to freeze. Mother is so scared her face loses every drop of blood. Stealing collective property is a heavy crime. Chu Dai's son stands up, tells mother not to be afraid. His eyes immediately turn cold. He instructs Chu Chulan to take the bun wrapping paper to burn it and throw it into the stove. Then he walks to the door, hand on the latch, his thoughts connecting to the warehouse. If they want to die, then don't blame me for not holding back. Chu Dai's son forcefully pulls the door open. The cold wind carrying snowflakes pours in. Outside the door is a dark crowd of people. The leader is Bald Tun with a fierce face. Next to him is Fat Tun looking smug and two militia members holding sticks. Chu Dai's son crosses his arms over his chest, looking down at them from above, asks who said he stole things. He says if you can't produce evidence, today whoever dares to step into the house, he will make that person go out horizontally. Bald Tun waves his hand, ordering people to search. He says he doesn't believe it if it can't be found. He will twist his head off for Chu Dai's son to kick like a ball. Two militia members pushed Chu Dai's son aside, then rush into the house, turning things upside down. Fat Tun, like a wildcat, rushes straight to the head of the bed. She says it's definitely hidden here. She says she smells it. She pokes at the basket Chu Dai's son brought back, turns it upside down. There's only a few dry branches and a handful of dry grass. Empty. Fat Tun is stunned. She doesn't believe it, reaches her hand in pulling the grass out. Still just grass, the bulging bag of salt from earlier. Matches, needle, and thread all disappeared. Chu Dai's son leans against the wall, sneering. Even deities couldn't find it there. Fat Tun screams, impossible, definitely hidden in this house. She tells people to go look at the stove. She lifts the pot lid, saying it's still hot. The whole crowd gathers to look. In the pot is a pot of watery wild vegetable soup boiling. Not even a drop of oil. The crowd falls dead silent. Chu Dai's son stares at Fat Tun, asks, is this the stolen goods you're looking for? It's wild vegetable soup, the food for my whole family. Asks if she wants to taste it. Fat Tun is still digging in the stove, ashes, ending up burning her hand, and still not finding a single bone fragment. Bald Tun's face turns purple like pig liver, so humiliating, leading people to catch a thief, only to catch a pot of wild vegetable soup. He yells at his wife, then turns to threaten Chu Dai's son. Not finding it doesn't mean he's clean, saying since someone reported, we have to investigate. Bald Tun has to step back. He says having no evidence yet falsely accusing is bullying the family of a martyr, saying if this matter is blown up, then this team leader position of Bald Tun shouldn't even be dreamed of keeping. Bald Tun panics. He tells him not to talk nonsense, saying he did this for the safety of the collective property. Chu Dai's son's voice is loud and clear. He says if he cares so much about the collective property, then great, I also want to make a report, saying he wants to report Bald Tun's whole family for stealing public property. Hiding the collective's grain, the crowd explodes. Hoarding public grain is a major crime. Bald Tun is so scared his whole body trembles, cursing Chu Dai's son for speaking nonsense, saying if he can't produce evidence, he'll show Chu Dai's son what's what. Chu Dai's son says the evidence is right under the pickled vegetable vat in his house's cellar. Chu Dai's son's eyes are sharp as swords, staring at Bald Tun. The streak of white powder stuck on his sleeve cuff. That is the thing he accidentally discovered a few days ago when activating the scanning function. He asks Bald Tun if he dares to lead everyone there to see, saying if there isn't any, he will pay with his life. And if there is, then his layer of skin must be peeled off. At this moment, the party branch secretary Tran Truong Phuc walks in holding a tea mug. He says, since someone reported, we must investigate, tells Bald Tun to lead the way, saying a straight tree doesn't fear standing dead. Bald Tun staggers, almost collapsing to the ground. It's over. Everything is over. The north wind blows harder and harder. The whole group of people aggressively marches to Bald Tun's house. Chu Dai's son walks in front, taking long and steady strides. The old party branch secretary, Tran Truong Phuc, wearing an overcoat, walks right beside. His face is so dark it could drip water, while Bald Tun is sandwiched in the middle. Right now his calves are trembling. Every step, his feet feel like stepping on cotton. His hands and feet weak. He edges closer to Tran Truong Phuc, his voice also trembling. He pleads, saying Chu Dai's son is because his house was searched. So he holds a grudge, taking revenge, saying his house hides state grain. Begging the old secretary to believe him, Tran Truong Phuc stops, coldly gives him a glance. He says, I've been a cadre for so many years. If you didn't hide it, what's there to be afraid of? Just let people go in and see. Consider returning your innocence, then asks, or do you not dare? This sentence scares Bald Tun so much he wants to roll his eyes back. How would he dare? Of course he doesn't dare. Those 2 sacks of sorghum are glaring evidence. Once discovered, He's done for, arriving at Bald Tun's house gate. This is the most beautiful house in the village, well, while everyone else lives in rammed earth houses. Or even thatched houses, Bald Tun's house is built entirely of blue bricks. The courtyard wall is also a foot higher than others, looking at this imposing courtyard. The villagers behind who are skinny and sallow from hunger. Their eyes become even more resentful. Tran Truong Phuc orders, tell someone to open the gate. Bald Tun sluggishly fishes out the key, his hands trembling so much the key can't even hit the lock. A militia member nearby already found him an eyesore, snatches the key, throws the courtyard gate wide open. Everyone swarms in like a broken beehive. Chu Dai-sun goes straight to the cellar located under the west wall of the courtyard. That is the cellar used to store various vegetables. On top is covered by a thick straw mat. And on top of that a few large rocks. He points at the cellar, says right under here. Bald Tun clings tightly to the door frame, throwing a tantrum refusing to budge. He says underneath is all pickled vegetable vats. Where would there be grain? Chu Dai-sun sneers, says whether there is or not. Go down and see and we'll know immediately. He tells the militia to help lift the straw mat up. When a wall falls, everyone pushes it. Normally Bald Tun acts tyrannically, making enemies with quite a few people, now seeing him about to encounter bad luck. These militia members are more active than anyone. In a flash, they toss the straw mat aside, revealing the pitch-black cellar opening. A foul smell of fermenting pickled vegetables rushes to the face. Tran Truong Phuc waves his hand, orders people to hold torches and go down. 2 militia members hold torches and climb down the ladder. Chu Dai-sun also follows closely behind. The cellar is very gloomy and cold, but the space is quite large. Against the wall sit 2 large vats as tall as half a person. Inside packed full of pickled vegetables. Nearby are some potatoes and radishes, piled up like a small mountain. Just looking at this hoarded amount is already countless times richer than a normal family. A militia member holds the torch walking a circle, a bit doubtfully says, there's nothing. The crowd straining their necks looking at the cellar opening above. Also starts to murmur, Bald Tun above hearing that. His heart that was hanging in the air also temporarily calms down a bit. He's just about to open his mouth to cry injustice. Then right at this moment, Chu Dai-sun walks to the front of the largest pickled vegetable vat. Says, move this vat away. The militia member is stunned for a moment. Says this thing is too heavy. Who hides grain under the bottom of a vat? Chu Dai-sun only says one word. Move. His tone is too authoritative, his eyes too convincing, making people unable not to believe. The 2 militia members look at each other, sticking the torches onto the dirt wall, rolling up their sleeves, together shouting and exerting effort, moving the heavy large vat aside. The dirt previously pressed under the vat is exposed. The color of the dirt there is clearly newer than the surroundings. Looking like it was just dug up not long ago, a militia member takes a shovel, digs hard downwards. Hasn't dug half a foot. The shovel hits something hard. The militia member excitedly yells. There's something. Bald Tun above hearing this yell. His eyes roll back, then goes limp, falling flat on the ground. His pants instantly soak wet. It's over for him. Down in the cellar, the militia hurriedly speed up their movements. With just a few scrapes, they clear all the thin layer of dirt on top. A wooden board is exposed. Flipping the wooden board up, underneath is a pre-dug hole. In the hole are 2 bulging gunny sacks. The sack mouths are tied very tightly. Printed on the sacks are 4 red characters, People's Commune. Under the torchlight, it looks even more dazzling. Open it to see. His voice containing uncontrollable furious anger. Chu Dai-sun steps up, pulls out the dagger at his waist, slashes a line. The gunny sack is slashed open. Red sorghum grains pour out onto the ground. Red as blood. It really is grain. It's the public grain that the whole village has to tighten their belts to have enough to hand in. The militia member in the cellar scoops up a handful of sorghum, his 2 hands trembling violently. This Bald Tun is a goddamn bastard. Saying they have to drink wild vegetable soup, he hides good stuff in his house. At this moment, everyone's eyes turn bloodshot. Anger, anger reaching the sky. In this deadly famine era, daring to hide the collective's grain, this is plotting for wealth and murdering lives. Tran Truong Phuc roars, tells people to bring the stuff up. Arrest both of them for me. 2 sacks of sorghum are carried to the middle of the courtyard, weighing a full 200 kilograms, bald ton and fat ton, have been pinned to the ground by the furious villagers. Tied up tight, the angry villagers surge forward, tightly surrounding Bald Ton. The people's hearts are indignant. The resentment accumulated daily, plus the anger driven by hunger, makes the scene momentarily out of control. Bald Ton is extremely miserable, his mouth nonstop begging for mercy, telling them not to hit him, saying he was just momentarily confused. Tran Truong Phuc shouts loudly, stopping the out-of-control crowd. He looks at Bald Ton, miserably limp on the ground. In his eyes, there isn't a trace of pity, only disgust. This Bald Ton as a production team cadre, guarding the goods but stealing them, privately hoarding collective grain. The severity of the crime is extremely serious. From now on, stripping Bald Ton of his team leader position, temporarily locking him and his wife in the team's cowshed. Early tomorrow morning, they will be sent to the commune to be dealt with. Cheers like thunder erupt in the crowd. Tran Truong Phuc turns his head, looking with complex eyes towards Chu Dai's son, standing nearby. This usually quiet young man today has done an earth-shattering deed. He not only cleared his own suspicion, but also brought down a local tyrant in the village. Moreover, from beginning to end, he was terrifyingly calm. Tran Truong Phuc pats Chu Dai's son's shoulder. This time you've done a great merit. This grain has been found. The team will reward you according to regulations. You go back first. Chu Dai's son nods. He doesn't appear too excited, nor does he take advantage of others' downfall to harm them. He just calmly gives a glance at Bald Ton miserably on the ground, his eyes flashing a cold look. A reward is fine. As long as from now on, no one arbitrarily bullies our widow and orphan family anymore. Then I'm satisfied. Saying that, he pulls his torn, padded jacket tight, then turns and walks out of the courtyard. The villagers behind look at his back. Everyone's eyes have changed before they saw Chu Dai's son as a pitiful person. Saw him as an airless person. This brat is not an ordinary guy. From now on, whoever wants to covet the Chu family must first measure themselves. See if they have the same capability as Bald Ton arriving home. It's completely dark. The house isn't lit, gloomy and cold. But Chu Dai's son's heart is burning with fire. This battle was won beautifully, not only solving the immediate crisis, but also killing the chicken to scare the monkeys, asserting dominance to establish rules. Chu Chu Mai hears the noise, pokes her head out from the blanket, timidly asks, "Is everything okay, brother?" Chu Dai's son fumbles in the dark to the side of the bed, pulls the blanket up for his sister, says it's fine now, the bad guys have been taken away, from now on no one will dare to bully us anymore. The mother in the dark sighs, says today, although we won, but we also heavily offended people, heard the Tun family still has relatives in other villages. Later it will be hard to live. Chu Dai's son dismisses his mother's worry, says, "Mother, don't be afraid. The gentle get bullied. The gentle horses get ridden. In this world, wanting to survive, you have to be more vicious than wolves. As long as our family can stand firm on our own, then whoever comes won't be able to do anything." He sits on the edge of the bed, listening to the howling wind outside. The wind threading through the holes in the window paper, creating piercing shrieks, causing the temperature in the room to drop lower and lower. This dilapidated house truly can't be lived in anymore. Although having money, having grain, these 4 walls leaking wind everywhere absolutely cannot block the freezing cold of -30 or 40 degrees in the northeast. Chu Dai's son touches the remaining money on his person, thinking to himself tomorrow he must find someone to fix this house. If they don't get through this winter, even if they don't starve to death, they will freeze to death. While thinking, outside suddenly echoes soft footsteps. Someone knocks on the door. Chu Dai's son vigilantly asks who it is, his hand subconsciously reaching for the combat shovel hidden under the pillow. Outside echoes an old voice, saying it's his second uncle, heard he wanted to fix the house. Uncle has some window paper and nails that are still good, so thought to bring them over. Chu Dai's son is stunned for a moment, then the corner of his mouth raises into a meaningful smile. This second uncle, their houses are less than 50 m apart, yet they are relatives who haven't visited for 3 years. Seems this is the benefit of asserting dominance, huh? This fickle world truly changes fast. He stands up, stuffs the combat shovel back under the pillow, then walks over to unlatch the door, since someone came looking to work for free, then not using them is a waste. This house has someone to fix it now. Early the next morning, the sky just barely light. Chu Dai's son, carrying 5 yuan and a pack of Great Front Gate cigarettes, knocks on Carpenter Lu's door at the east end of the village. Carpenter Lu is an honest and simple craftsman, all his life only knowing 2 things: drinking alcohol and doing carpentry. Carpenter Lu wears a torn, padded jacket, eyes half open, half closed, sleepily pulling the door to see. It's Chu Dai's son. His cloudy old eyes immediately brighten up a few degrees. The matter of Bald Tun being arrested last night has already spread throughout the village. Chu Dai's son now, in the eyes of the villagers, is a malefic star not to be messed with. Chu Dai's son says no more, directly stuffs the pack of Great Front Gate cigarettes into Carpenter Lu's hand. Says that he has a matter to ask Uncle. Says his house is too drafty. Wants to trouble Uncle to build a heated bed, conveniently fix the doors and windows. Carpenter Lu squeezes the pack of cigarettes in his hand. Real cigarettes. He swallows his saliva. In this era, cigarettes are rare items, let alone a good cigarette like Great Front Gate. Carpenter Lu rubs his hands a bit awkwardly, says that this job can be done. But right now the team also has no free people. He also has to go earn work points, says materials to fix the house are also not easy to find. Chu Dai's son then from his pocket pulls out 2 1-yuan bills, slapping them into Carpenter Lu's callous palm. Says that he has money. This money he pays considerate labor fee. As for the matter of going to work, he will go talk to the secretary. Just say his house belongs to the category of renovating dilapidated houses. The team will definitely approve, looking at those 2 crisp new bills. Carpenter Lu's hands tremble a bit. 2 yuan, working a whole month in the team. Might not get a share of this much cash. Carpenter Lu stuffs the money and cigarettes in his clothes. His back immediately straightens. Says since Chu Dai's son is so generous, he won't dilly-dally. Goes to get his tools right away. Today, even if he has to sell this old life, he must fix the house for him warm and proper. Having money and people, everything is easy to solve. Chu Dai's son also goes to the production team headquarters for a trip. Greeting party branch Secretary Tran Truong Phuc. Tran Truong Phuc is worrying, not knowing how to thank Chu Dai's son, this great contributor. Just hearing it's merely fixing a house, without saying 2 words, immediately approves the paperwork, even specially approving 2 carts of yellow clay and a pile of straw. 9 in the morning, the dilapidated house of the Chu family begins to become lively. Carpenter Lu has excellent skills. First, he removes the window frame that is wobbly and about to collapse. He uses a plane to plane away the rotten parts, then uses new wood to patch it. Sawdust flies everywhere like snowflakes. Carrying the pleasant scent of pine wood, Chu Dai's son also isn't idle. He mixes mud, moves bricks, together with Carpenter Lu tearing down the half-collapsed stove. Carpenter Lu holding a trowel with one hand, pointing at the pitch-black ash layer inside the stove with the other. Says this stove should have been fixed long ago. Carpenter Lu working suddenly sniffs his nose. The action of his hands doesn't miss half a beat. Chu Dai's son laughs and says, "Today Uncle has worked hard. At noon Uncle stay here to have a simple meal, okay? It's nothing delicious though. Just have some pork cracklings. Wait until the handfuls of wild vegetables mixed with pork cracklings are brought to the table." Carpenter Lu's eyes light up. He also doesn't stand on ceremony. Grabs one and stuffs into his mouth, eating until his mouth is full of grease, even having to suck his fingers clean. Eating and drinking his fill, he works even more enthusiastically. By noon, Carpenter Lu has shown all his skills. He redesigns the inside of the heated bed cavity, making the smoke wind around like a bow. This way the heat can stay in the bed longer. Waiting until the sun is about to set, the project is finally completed. The new window paper is only faintly bright because it's not transparent like glass, but the wind-blocking effect must be called excellent. The large new heated bed occupies half the room. The surface is plastered with a flat layer of yellow mud. Still not completely dry, emitting an earthy smell, Chu-Dai-sun hugs a bundle of dry firewood, stuffs it into the stove, then lights the fire. The flame, under the pull of the bellows, flares up, then threads into the heated bed cavity. Soon, that heat follows the chimney path. Spreading all over the surface of the heated bed, Chu-Dai-sun places his hand on the head of the bed. Warm, it's truly warm. That warm feeling transfers from the palm throughout his body, chasing away the freezing cold accumulated in the bone marrow for years. The mother sitting on the small stool nearby, although still coughing, but on her face blooms a smile not seen for a long time. She says, "It's warm. This heated bed is truly warm. Like this the mother and children can get through the winter." Chu Chumai is even more excited, jumping up and down on the dirt floor, saying it's not cold in the house anymore. There's no wind at all. Heavy snow falls for 3 days and 3 nights. Opening the door, the accumulated snow is already over the knees, a vast expanse of white, making people's eyes ache. The entire Tan thatch ravine is like being covered by a giant white pot lid. Deathly silent, besides a few dogs barking occasionally. Not even a ghost shadow is seen. Chu-Dai-sun stands at the door, takes a deep breath of freezing cold air. That cold air goes down his throat into his lungs, like swallowing a handful of crushed ice. This makes his whole body shiver. Completely awake, Chu-Lan, hugging the torn padded jacket that just got new cotton filling, huddling at the door crack, looking full of worry, asking, is it really necessary to go into the mountains when it's snowing this heavily, brother? I heard the old folks in the village say, when heavy snow covers the mountains like this, all the beasts in the mountains are hungry to the point of blurring their eyes. Very ferocious. Chu-Dai-sun tightens his pant legs, ties the pant legs tight, says hungry to the point of blurring eyes. Huh. Good. They're hungry. I'm also hungry. Just right to see who is whose meal. He turns his head, giving his sister a bright smile, telling her to stay home and burn the heated bed hot. Waiting for him to return, we siblings will eat dog meat stewed with pickled mustard greens. After saying that, he slings the large basket repaired from old gunny sacks onto his shoulder, stepping on the thick snow layer, making crunching sounds and walking towards the westport. The snow in the forest is even thicker than outside. There are places the snow even reaches the base of the mountains. Chu-Dai-sun walks very slowly. In his hand, he holds a sharpened wooden stick, both probing the way and vigilantly observing the surroundings. Heavy snow covering the mountains, to ordinary people, is a disaster, but to a hunter is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Because all footprints on the snow surface cannot be hidden, he stops under an old pine tree. On the tree bark, there are fresh scratch marks. On the snow surface at the base of the tree, there are also a few dark green droppings. He squats down, uses the wooden stick to poke it. That dropping is already frozen hard, but inside you can still see undigested food. It's a roe deer. This animal is very curious. Normally seeing people, not only it doesn't run, but also has to stop to look. That's why it has the name silly roe deer. But the meat of this animal is very fresh and delicious. The fur keeps warm, is the best prey in winter. Chu-Dai-sun takes out from his person a roll of thin nylon string, quickly strings it between 2 small trees, 1-foot snare trap, then places a simple snare loop behind. About 1 hour later, the bushes in the distance suddenly move. A yellow head sticks out. It's an adult roe deer. On top of its head, there's also a pair of small branched antlers. It vigilantly sniffs its nose. Its pitch-black eyes dart around in all 4 directions. It smells the aroma of soybeans. In this winter where all things are withered, that small handful of soybeans, to herbivores, is simply a deadly temptation. The roe deer hesitates for a while, but still cannot resist. It carefully steps out bit by step, getting closer to the pile of soybeans. Right at the moment it passes between the 2 small trees, its neck has tangled into the nearly invisible nylon string. The immense momentum makes its whole body tumble forward. One foot happens to step into the snare loop behind. The trap is triggered. The nylon string in the blink of an eye tightens, tightly tying that leg, hanging it dangling midair. Chu Dai-sun walks over, skillfully grabs the roe deer, uses force to snap it. The roe deer stops making noise, goes limp and hangs down. In the next 2 hours, Chu Dai-sun uses a similar method. He catches one more female roe deer, also one wild hare that's suicidally charged in. The basket is already full, even having to use a rope to hang the wild hare on the outside. The sky also gradually darkens. On the mountain in winter, the sky gets dark very fast. The forest that was bright just a moment ago, in the blink of an eye, has become gloomy and scary. Chu Dai-sun looks at the sky, decides to pack up his stuff. Greed leads to darkness. Bringing so many prey will make it hard to move. If by chance he meets any large beast, then he will be in big trouble. Right at the moment he turns around, the back of his neck suddenly goes completely cold. That feeling is like being watched by some terrifying thing. That is the intuition he honed on the battlefield. Has saved his life countless times. Chu Dai-sun abruptly stops his steps. His whole body tenses up in an instant. He doesn't turn his head, but slowly, bit by bit, moves his hand towards the combat shovel at his waist. The wind stops blowing. The surroundings are deathly silent. Even the bird songs that occasionally rang out earlier are no more. From behind comes a heavy breathing sound, accompanied by an extremely foul, fishy smell. Chu Dai-sun abruptly turns around, the combat shovel in his hand blocking his chest, thanks to the faint light reflecting from the snow surface. Behind a giant red pine tree, half a striped body is exposed. That is a huge head with alternating yellow and black stripes. The king character on its forehead is extremely prominent. A pair of green eyes is staring at him, in its eyes clearly showing a look of mockery and cruelty. That is a Siberian tiger, the lord of the forest. Chu Dai-sun's heart suddenly tightens. Although he has space, has weapons, but facing this apex predator weighing several hundred caddies, a fear originating from biological instinct, still makes his back break out in cold sweat. That tiger doesn't pounce immediately. It seems to be evaluating the strength of the two-legged beast in front of it, or wanting to toy with the prey until it dies. It slowly steps out from behind the tree base, the massive body like a moving small hill. Every step it takes, the muscles on its body slightly ripple, brimming with explosive power. Chu Dai-sun doesn't step back. Daring to turn around and run at this moment, is seeking death, exposing his back to the tiger. That is playing with his life being too long. He stares at the tiger's eyes, slowly unslings the basket on his back, places it by his feet. This is not only to reduce the burden, but also for when necessary. Can use this meat as bait. He licks his dry, cracked lips. A hoarse voice rings out. That tiger seems to be angered by Chu Dai-sun's gaze. It lets out a low roar, the sound like rolling thunder echoing in the forest, shaking the accumulated snow on the branches to fall down. It lowers its body, its tail whipping back and forth behind it like an iron whip. This is the omen before attacking. Right in the moment, hanging by a thread, Chu Dai-sun suddenly acts. He doesn't wait for the tiger to pounce, but takes the initiative to launch an attack. He suddenly grabs a frozen clod of snow on the ground, throws it hard at the tiger's head. The snow clod hits the tiger's nose bridge, shattering, although not causing any injury. But this sudden provocative action makes the tiger pause for a moment. Right at this moment, Chu Dai-sun pulls the dead hare in the basket on his back out, throws it hard towards the bush nearby. The tiger's gaze instinctively follows the thrown hare. Glancing after it, Chu Dai-sun doesn't take the opportunity to run away. On the contrary, he lunges fiercely forward 2 steps. The combat shovel in his hand slices through the air, chopping hard down on the tiger's front paw. Taking advantage of its illness, taking its life, the tiger clearly didn't expect it. This weak, two-legged beast would dare to take the initiative to attack. It angrily raises its paw, swiping at Chu Dai-sun like smashing a mallet. Right at the moment the claws are about to touch his body, Chu Dai-sun's figure suddenly disappears. The next second, he abruptly appears by the tiger's side. This is a variant way to use the instantaneous spatial access function. Although he can't put himself inside, he could take advantage of the moment when storing and taking out items. The spatial fluctuation causes a visual displacement, although it's only a few fractions of a second. But it's enough to make the tiger swipe at empty air. The immense momentum makes its body stagger, and the combat shovel in Chu Dai-sun's hand has slashed hard into its hind leg. The sharp high-carbon steel shovel blade tears open the thick tiger skin. Slashing deep into the meat fibers, black blood immediately pours out. The tiger is in maddening pain. It swings hard. Its tail whips Chu Dai-sun's chest like an iron rod. Chu Dai-sun feels like he was hit by a truck. His whole body flies backward 4 to 5 meters. Falling flat on the snow surface, he pants heavily, feeling like his ribs are about to break, but this hit was worth it. That tiger has been crippled in one leg, roaring and spinning in place. The mockery in its eyes has turned into a sky-high fire of anger. And a hint of hard-to-notice fear, it's injured. In this harsh winter, being injured means death. Chu Dai-sun forces himself to stand up, wipes the blood streak at the corner of his mouth. He looks at the angry tiger, but it doesn't dare to easily rush forward. On his face reveals a twisted smile. He yells, "Come here, keep going. Today, if you don't die, then I perish." This skin, he is definitely taking it. The tiger once again lunges forward. Chu Dai-sun doesn't dodge at all. He immediately takes out the alloy riot shield from his space. Blocking the tiger's sharp fangs, the tiger bites onto the hard alloy shield, even breaking 2 teeth before it can react. The combat shovel in Chu Dai-sun's right hand swings down, this time aiming at its neck. The sharp shovel blade slices across the tiger's throat, delivering a fatal blow. Black blood splatters onto Chu Dai-sun's face. The tiger's body suddenly stiffens. A gurgling sound comes from its throat. The massive body crashes down with a thud, splashing up a mist of blood. Chu Dai-sun falls flat on the snow surface, panting heavily in large gulps, his whole body trembling nonstop. Not because of the cold, but because of exhaustion. He wipes the black blood stain on his face, looking at the tiger carcass as big as a small hill in front of him. He grins, a smile even uglier than crying, but reflecting the extreme joy of a survivor of a catastrophe. He won, in the era of lacking food and clothing, with a skinny body like this. He single-handedly took down a Siberian tiger. The notification sound in his head rings out. Detecting the prey is a large carnivore. Elimination mission completed. Strategic supply recovery station is upgrading. Unlocking new area. 10 cubic meter cold storage. Unlocking new items. 1 box of military compressed biscuits. 1 box of antibiotics. Chu Dai-sun places his hand on the dead tiger's body. A thought flashes in his head. The giant dead tiger immediately disappears, stored into the newly unlocked cold storage. The sky is just turning light at the back door of the district mechanical factory. The air is mixed with the smell of coal slag and machine oil. There's also the smell from the large communal canteen pot. Chu Dai-sun wraps his torn, padded jacket tight, carrying the heavy basket on his back, squatting at the end of the alley. He is like a patient hunter. This time the prey is not wild beasts, but an opportunity. The mechanical factory has several thousand workers, several thousand mouths to feed. This is the biggest market. The iron door is kicked open from the inside. A man wearing a dark blue sun Yatsen suit, slightly chubby figure, walks out frustratedly, frowning so hard it could pinch a fly to death, walking while turning back to yell at the person behind. The man aggressively stomps out his cigarette, but scolds, "No, you're telling me no? There's only half a month left until Tet. The factory director has issued a strict order. Every person, even if only distributed half a caddy of meat, must see some meat. Now you tell me the supply and marketing cooperative has no goods. Do you want me to cut the meat from my thigh to distribute to the workers, huh?" The young man behind with a bitter face says, truly out of options. This year, everywhere is short of meat. The cooperative doesn't even have a single pig hair. The man called Section Chief irritably waves his hand, telling him scram. His name is Ly Dai Trang, head of purchasing section of the mechanical factory. This position looks lucrative, but in this famine era, it's no different from sitting on a volcano crater. If he doesn't complete the quota, he will also have to pack up and scram. Right when Ly Dai Trang is so anxious he wants to bang his head against the wall. Behind him sounds a deep voice. Ask brother, do you have a light? Ly Dai Trang doesn't bother to turn his head, says scram. Can't you see I'm busy? He turns around, sees a tall young man, sharp eyes. He is dressed like a vagrant, but that aura doesn't look like an ordinary peasant. Most importantly, the young man doesn't have any cigarette in his hand, instead putting his hand into the basket on his back. Ly Dai Trang vigilantly steps back, asks what he wants to do. Chu Dai's son says nothing. The corner of his mouth slightly raises, flips the torn gunny sack covering the basket, revealing a corner. Just one glance, Ly Dai Trang's eyes widen. His Adam's apple moves violently, swallowing a gulp of saliva. That is meat, frozen hard as rock, still with traces of blood. Clear meat grain, it's wild meat. Chu Dai's son makes a shush gesture, then covers the gunny sack. Says it's windy here. Change to another place. Ly Dai Trang immediately lowers his voice, tells him to follow him, says to the back of the boiler room. The corner of the boiler room is both warm and has no people. Ly Dai Trang rubs his hands, his eyes narrowing, staring at the basket like a starving wolf looking at a lamb. Asks what meat is it? How much is there? Chu Dai's son, while speaking, pulls out a dog leg frozen hard as rock. He says it's dog meat, just hunted 5 to 6 caddies. Tells him to look carefully. Ly Dai Trang snatches it, leans close to smell it, the faint metallic smell of blood mixed with the fragrant smell of meat. Disclaimer: all content, characters, settings, and events are products of my imagination and were created for entertainment purposes only.